Okay, so I didn't plan to quit my job in just 33 days. Like, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing it well. But it did happen. So stick around and I'll tell you my story on why. Keeping everything simple, let's jump right in. Okay, so I'd like to preface this story by saying, here are some tips that you should follow if you are planning on or are currently getting ready to leave your job. So first and foremost, if you take nothing else away from this video, please have a backup plan or opportunities already in place that you'll execute on when you do leave your job. And that's not a luxury everybody can afford, but if you can, it's gonna help you out so much. And speaking of affording things, tip number 2 is that you should have an emergency fund or a safety net in place that is 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. It's designed to lower your risk and lower your stress. And now for some people, they may just need 1 month. For some people, they just need 2 months. But the important thing is that you have a safety net in place because that itself can actually be the backup plan, or the backup plan to the backup plan,
or the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan.
You get the point. Tip number 3 is quit the proper way. And that means giving notice and following through all the hoops the proper way. And that may change depending on the region or the state that you live in or the country that you live in, but it's still super important that you do give proper notice. Also, so this way you're not slipping a condolence card underneath like someone's door and then just running away and booking it. You can actually check out my first video on why I quit a job, and you may see why I may kind of did that. So feel free to check that one out. Tip number 4 is have your list of reasons ready to go. And this is gonna be super helpful when it comes time for exit interviews, which by the way, you should do those. If you don't know what an exit interview is, it's a chance to sit down with HR or a third party and go through your reasons why you're leaving, reasons things didn't work out, and things that you wish could have been done better. It's a chance to really air it out, say what you're thinking, say what's on your mind in a more constructive manner and in a more constructive setting. And an added bonus to that is that when you have that list of reasons for why you're leaving, it's also going to help you clarify what to look for when you're going to your next job or your next opportunity. All right, and then final tip here is do it for you. Do it for your best interest and for your best quality of life. There are pros and cons to everything that you're going to choose to do, and quitting your job is no different. There's pros to staying, there's cons to staying, there's pros to leaving, there's cons to leaving. So weigh it out and do what's best for you. And also leave on good terms, because it's gonna be much harder, or it's gonna feel much more stressful if you leave on bad terms when you are trying to look for a new job and you feel that you can't use your previous employer as a good reference. So leave with the bridges intact and leave in good standing. And as all, do it in a way that's best for you. Now that we got that out of the way, again, those are tips that you should follow if you are planning to or are currently in the process of getting ready to leave your job. But story time. So I've been in retail since I graduated university in 2020. So out of the pandemic. And again, previous video on this where I talked about quitting my previous retail job, and I was able to take a couple months off because I did follow through on those steps I mentioned earlier. And I decided, okay, I got bills to pay still, so I should probably get another job. And I kind of went back to retail. And here's why I'm gonna do my best to never go into retail again. And on this channel, I talk a lot about working with other individuals, working with people who are more experienced than you, because they are able to show you what the future could look like or give you more advice on how to navigate your career in your field. I didn't want to work in retail for my entire career. It just wasn't for me. And seeing the older individuals who had the years in there, had their career built up in retail, and knowing that I want to be a dad, I want to be a husband, I love spending time with my friends and family, and also holidays are kind of super important, and I love that time of year. And knowing that if I was gonna stay in retail, I couldn't actively get to enjoy those things in the way that was going to be meaningful and fulfilling to me, that was something that I probably should have gauged early on and said, I shouldn't go into retail again, I should go into something else. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. And knowing that I had previous high-level retail experience going in from a publicly traded retail company into a small mom and pop shop is a very different set of circumstances. So even if my skill set was still the same and I got to utilize the skill set, there was a new system in place, there were new tools in place. For me, it's a matter of efficiency as well as seeing the results from the work I put in. I used to work in online orders, so fulfillment, and it was great for me because I could see, okay, this is what I started at, here's where I ended at for the day, here's where I ended at for the week, for the month, and I got to compare it, and I got to really push myself and compete with myself and others. And in the new job, I couldn't do that. It was pretty repetitive task. There wasn't really anything groundbreaking I was doing, as well as even though I was hoping to be, again, a manager level individual, it just wasn't something that I was gonna find any fulfillment in, especially coming around to the holidays. And so knowing that there was a lack of efficiency, there was a lack of good procedures, knowing that safety was something that I took really seriously, because no job is worth risking your life and limb over, at least in my opinion, when it comes to service-based jobs. I decided that I had to get out of there pretty quickly because I didn't want to spend more time in that environment. And so I made the shift. I followed through on the steps that I outlined earlier. So I had my new job in a completely new field and industry. My start date, even though my safety net was a bit smaller than it was previous time I did this, it's still there. So I had my safety net in place. I left in good standing with the team, and I followed proper procedure and gave my 2 weeks notice, even though I wasn't going to be there for the entirety of the 2 weeks because the schedule was ending soon. But I followed through on those steps because it puts me in better standing and sets me up for more success when I get to my next role. And I can say I'm just happy to get to a new industry where I'm gonna learn something new, I'm gonna try something new, and I still get to expand my skill set while building upon the ones I already earned while I was in retail. And again, retail is a fantastic starter position for what I believe it to be. If you want to be in that service-based customer service all the time, that's great. If that floats your boat, fantastic. It doesn't really do it for me. While I enjoy the fast-paced, results-oriented piece of it, I want to do things like this. I want to help teach others. I want to help build up other people in their career. And I love getting a chance to talk to you guys about that. And so having that opportunity is super important for me. And so keeping everything simple, follow me on Instagram, like this video, found it fun and enjoyable as well as helpful. And I will see you guys in another video. Have a wonderful day.